What's going on, Visionaries? Welcome back to another video. So today we have a video that you all have been waiting for quite a while. It's me and PYRO here, and we are going to be reviewing your guys' reptile and fish tank setups. And if you didn't see your fish tank or reptile setup in this video, you can go click in the description and go watch his video and subscribe to him there. So we already know. So before we quickly get into it, I kind of want to describe my rating system. Inspired by Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports. He reviews a piece of pizza every day, and I'm just kind of going off of his rating system. So if we go from the best, if you get between pretty much, and I use decimal points, if you go between a 9 and a 10, your setup is amazing, like nothing wrong, like whoa. Wow. And if you get between maybe 7.4 and 8.9, that means you have an extremely good setup. Maybe one or two things I would switch, but overall it's like great. And then if you get between a 7.3 and a 6.8, that means you have a very good enclosure, like probably above, a little bit above average. And then if you get anything lower than that, that means like a 6.5 or below. That means it may just be a good sort of average setup, and there's a few tweaks, maybe a few more tweaks we would make to it. And if you get anything lower than that, it's probably just because you didn't have a proper setup for that fish or animal. So that's kind of the setup we're going for, and so we're going to go through many fish tanks and reptile enclosures. So let's go. So first photo I'll pop up for you guys on the screen is our fish tank 1, and this one is from Jacqueline Flores, and this appears to be a square SpongeBob theme with lights. I see some bubbles on the top of the water, so there's probably some sort of aerator in there.
I will say,
yeah, go ahead.
I like the LEDs that they've got going on in that enclosure. It does create a cool modern aesthetic to it. I will say that.
Yeah, I like that. Things I like, probably my guess is a square 2.5 or 3 gallon tank. So I'm assuming there's probably a betta fish in here, and no live things. I see no live plants, but it is sort of SpongeBob themed. So I'm gonna go for my full review. I'm gonna say, just because I don't see a filter, there might be, I could be wrong.
I don't see a filter on it.
I see some bubbles, but I don't see a filter. I don't see live plants. There are lights, so plants could grow. So I'm gonna give this tank about I'm gonna give this tank 6.2. Final answer, locked in.
Honestly, on this enclosure here, I do like the SpongeBob thing. The thing that's getting me the most is I do not see a filter. That kind of bugs me. But he or she could have a sponge filter or something like that. Honestly, I'm gonna give this enclosure probably a 6.5.
All right, there we go. All right, so now we're gonna head over to our reptile setups. We're gonna try to switch every other. This first setup is one that was submitted to me, and this is, I believe there is a description. All right, I can explain this pretty much. It's
like
it's a 20 gallon long with two about 5.5 inch radiator sliders, a DIY drip filter with some lava rock and some filter floss, and looks like there's probably about 2 basking areas. Water level, I'd say, is okay. Filter probably creates enough oxygen. With a DIY filter like that, probably you'll need a stronger pump to go through as many more, because it's not a whole-on canister filter. What do you see about this?
Honestly, first of all, the thing that gets me the most is I'm not seeing any lighting on it. Now, they could have taken it off for the photo.
Right, that's what I saw first.
Yeah, I don't see any heat or UVB, but I'm not going to say they don't have it, because a lot of people take the heat and UVB off when they're taking their photos. Out of what I see, I would personally do a stronger filter, either an outside canister filter or a really, really strong internal filter. Other than that, it looks decent. 20 gallons is a bit small in my opinion for 2 5-inch radiator sliders, but that can also be based off of personal opinion. So
right, like if I had these, I'd probably you probably at least want to double it, at least to a 40.
Yep.
But some people don't realize that you can also just go with like a plastic bin from Home Depot, which would be half or a third of the price if you didn't want to buy an entire new fish tank. When I say a 40-gallon, you don't have to think $250 tank. Just like $50 from Home Depot.
You can even get real nice tubs from Tractor Supply as well, which are a little bit more expensive than a tub from Lowe's or Home Depot. But I do like the drains that they have on them for water changes. So there's a lot of options you have, especially when it comes to keeping turtles.
Yeah, I agree. Proper heat and UVB. I see at least one basking dock. I see something sticking up at the end. Doesn't really look like, or maybe it's something in the back. I'm gonna give this tank I wish it was a little bigger, so 6.5.
Okay. And you said 5's kind of in between there, right?
Yeah, like a good average enclosure is 6.5, 7.1. Anything below is is okay, needs room for improvement.
Okay, then I'm probably gonna go with a 5, honestly. I would definitely change a couple of things about it for sure.
Yeah, for one, I already locked in my answer. Can't change it, but stronger filter, bigger tank, maybe more live plants, maybe an extra basking dock. That's what I'm seeing.
I agree.
All right, fish setup. Tank number 2. Oh, this is the one. All right.
Oh.
Okay. Alex,
Right.
I'm sorry. Alex, I know you submitted this one to me. I'm pretty sure this is yours. Yeah, I went back. I know you're a supporter, bro, but straight off the bat, I don't even have to say. I'm gonna give this a 0.9.
Dang. Yeah, I would definitely gonna shoot for. I don't know. I'm thinking even lower based off the size of the enclosure. Maybe like 5, honestly.
Yeah.
3 goldfish in there. They're pretty decent size.
3 goldfish in a 2-gallon tank with a light, no live plants. So for one, technically what I've searched for, some people disagree and agree with this, but for at least 1 or 2 of those decent-sized goldfish, you need at least a 20-gallon tank. With 3, I'd probably move you to a 30 long, maybe. If you did big enough for a 40, you could probably put a few other things in there, but at least a 20-gallon long, preferably with live plants. I mean, if there was a betta fish in here, I'd give it 5.6.
It would be more decent if there's different type of fish in it. Honestly, the biggest thing that's catching me off guard, other than the size of the fish and the size of the enclosure, is the amount of substrate that's in that enclosure. I mean, that's got to be, if it's not kept clean, a bacteria feeding ground. There's probably so much bacteria. As long as it's kept clean, then you might be able to handle that bacteria. But there's it looks like 2 or 3 inch layer of substrate there.
Yeah, definitely. No live plants. I don't think. Oh yeah, really only thing is just the substrate and the quote unquote plants you use, and just the size of the fish. Way too big. The fish are way too big. So I don't think I need to say anything more about that setup.
I agree.
So let's see.
Change your setup, bro. Send it to us next time, and maybe you'll get a better rating.
Yeah. Go ahead. We're definitely going to do another one of these in the future. So if we do give you some constructive criticism, please don't hate us. We're just trying to help you and help your animals. So that's all we're trying to do. This one was submitted to me.
Okay, I have a couple things to say about this one as well.
I think he actually sent me a photo of the gecko, but I think there might be 1 or 2 cresties in here. But you go ahead.
Well, on this guy, honestly, I see 2, 2 crested geckos you were saying? I see 1 in the photo. The biggest deal for me is it doesn't look like they have a lot of climbing space. It looks like everything is kind of just jumbled on the ground. Now, maybe it's the angle that we're seeing it from, but it looks like towards the front of the photo, there's the little barrier on the cage, and then everything below that barrier piled up. And that
that's like 6 inches right there.
Yeah, that bugs me. Now, if you had those plants suction cupped or siliconed towards the top, then we'd be all right. But definitely look into getting some more plants and plants that'll hang higher. Especially don't have so much buildup on the ground, because when that gecko poops and stuff, all that poop is going to hit those plants. And once again, a bacteria feeding frenzy is going to end up happening.
Yeah, I agree. Because one, the average size, I think is a 12 by 12 by 18. There's one size that has that. And then this, I think there's another one that's a foot by a foot by 24 inches. I don't know how tall this one is. Something I would do probably instead of having definitely one thing to fix, make everything a lot higher. They need a lot more climbing space. It's like a python nest. Like this is not a crested gecko enclosure. If maybe one big live plant in the middle,
anything to allow them to climb a little bit more.
Yeah, like a big live plant in the middle, put a pot down there, and then suction cup those plants to the sides, and then maybe move those twigs like diagonal up and down a little more.
I agree. I definitely agree on that one, right? It looks like there's so much more room for climbing opportunities. I already on the photo see at least 4 or 5 inches of space above that they could bring those plants up. Definitely look into either getting yourself some new plants or siliconing or adding some suction cups or something. For a crested gecko, a 4.5.
So for this one, I might go a little higher, maybe just to be nice, because it's a proper size for it, and you just need to mix up what you have in it. Yeah. So I might give a 5.9.
5.9. Yeah, now, I'm sorry to everyone. I'm brutal with stuff like this, and I know in my last video, I gave pretty low ratings to a lot of enclosures. That's just how I am. So don't take it too personally if you get an even lower rating than you're expecting. But, all right, let's continue along.
2 photos. This first one, all right. I think the 2 photos are just different angles of the same one. Yeah. All right, appears to be, I'm liking this pretty much so far. Looks like you got maybe a couple tetras. Was there an explanation to what was in this? No, there was not. So looks like you have about, I would say, it looks a little larger than maybe at least a 20-gallon tank.
I was thinking like 20 or 30, honestly.
Yeah, something like that. It looks looks like a kind of like a 30 long to me. But I see you have a heater. You looks a decent sized filter in the corner. I'm liking that so far. Pebbles, rainbow sort of tomato sand isn't my favorite, but
I agree. Yeah, I like the more naturalistic sort of stuff.
Yeah, you don't really have anything in there that's going to be harmed by eating sand or anything, so you could just go through. You could do small pebbles, you could do sand. You got a hide in the middle, and at first glance, when I first saw this originally, I thought these were live plants. They just weren't really planted, but they appear to all be fake. I think I can go through this one pretty quickly. I would say it's a good one. I can see light coming from the top, so you could definitely add live plants. Only constructive criticism, live plants, maybe switch out the substrate, but the substrate is just my opinion. I give this one I'll give it a little better because I just want to add live plants. I will give it a 6.7.
6.7. I agree, this one does look pretty decent. There's not anything too terrible with it. I personally would just change up the substrate, maybe some live plants, and then tuck those cords a little bit back. Those cords kind of bug me a little bit, just a little bit. But honestly, all in all, I'm probably going to go with a 6.5.
All right. I think that's probably about a fair grade for that one. This one is actually a personal friend of mine. Okay. Because I asked him to send this to me because he wanted to switch. He actually wanted to turn this tank into a paludarium tank. Okay. Is what he wants to do in the future. But it's a ball python. That's honestly all I know about it. My guess, I don't know. It looks deceiving because those I can't tell if it's like a 10. Those branches are kind of deceiving me. It looks like a lot. It looks a lot bigger. So either way, you can take the lead on this one.
Alrighty. Well, first thing is a substrate. I'm not sure what kind of substrate is on the bottom there. I can't tell. It looks like sand, but I don't know if I'm tripping. Personally, for a ball python, if that's sand, I wouldn't do sand. I would do like a more dirt-like substrate. But I do agree that the branches kind of are deceiving. But the ball python does seem to fit in that enclosure well.
Yeah.
Like a decent amount of places. Now, as long as you got a heat pad, and a thermostat, and a decent hide, then you should be pretty decent and pretty good to go. I would just change up the substrate. I can't figure out what kind of substrate is on the bottom there. What do you think it is? Because I can't really tell.
It's like a white crystal, like kind of like a very coarse, kind of thicker white sand.
Yeah.
So I'm not it looks like a rice.
Yeah, exactly. And it looks cool with the enclosure, but I would definitely change up the substrate, especially if it has anything to do with sand, especially for ball python. Ball pythons require a little bit more humidity, Other than that, I like the plants that he's got going on. I like that he's got an opportunity for it to go across the ground or go higher up if it chooses to. I would just change up the substrate, and that's about it for me.
Yeah,
Uh,
I would agree. Yeah, because like the branches are deceiving, but
yeah.
but I see that he has the snake has a bit of size on him, so almost looks like some sort of 20, 30 gallon tall or something. I can't tell 100%.
Yeah.
But it looks to be a fair place, a good amount of live plants, good climbing areas. Looks like the lighting setup is decent. I'm gonna give this a. If I went 7-1, might reach a 7. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 6-9. Um,
I honestly was shooting for a similar spot. I think 6'9" as well. I think 6'9".
all right. Yeah, it's either 6-9 or 7, something like that. But I'm liking it. I'm gonna go for this first one with the lighted up tank. Now it appears to be, looks like I can't tell it. Maybe a 10, possibly a 10 gallon, as my guess. I'm gonna guess a 10. So it looks like you have is there a description? Okay, there is a description. So this is actually a 5.5 gallon planted tank. It's stocked with chili rasporas, a small platy, small group of cherry shrimp, and a bunch of plants. And he added some tropical fertilizer, which I think is the black substrate. It had a small algae outbreak, but he was getting it back. All right, so let me go back to the tank. I'm liking it so far.
It looks pretty decent.
Yeah, I see some of the bottom feeders. I see the heater. You got a nice eye. Your live plants appear to be thriving. You definitely, I would not say at all this tank is like overstocked. I'd say it's doing fairly well.
Yeah.
Filter in the back, as long as it's not taking up the shrimp, I'd say it's looking pretty good. I think it's pretty easy to give a grade on this. I'm gonna give this a. I could go higher, or lower by 1 decimal point. I'm gonna go 7-2.
7'2". I was thinking actually a little higher personally.
Go for it.
I'm thinking. Oh, no, I'm having second thoughts. Honestly, I'm thinking an 8.2.
I can see that. Yeah, like maybe if I was like blown, if it maybe was like fully covered in plants or something, or maybe just I don't know.
Yeah,
I
if
have
it
to
had
stick
a
with
lot
my.
more like foliage and liveliness to it, then I would definitely shoot a lot higher. But for a 5.5 gallon, it does look pretty decent.
Yeah. All right. So I see you got a good score there, and there's a few photos, and all right, I do remember this submission. I think there a description. So this one has a dart frog and a morning gecko in it.
Alrighty, just
So
one.
this top one. Yeah, just one of each.
Okay. Alright. I mean, you want to go first, or you want me to take the lead?
I say you take the lead on this one.
Alrighty. Honestly, out of bioactive setups, this is my specialty. I love bioactive enclosures, and I love when people do bioactive enclosures. I really do like this setup. I like his background. His background seems to be well placed and well built. Can't tell if he used spray foam or a different material for it. I would throw in a little bit more live moss personally. And then on the actual inhabitants of the enclosure, if it's 1-in-1, I definitely would get more, especially for that size enclosure. It looks like a decent sized cage. One dart frog is really not enough. You always want to keep them in at least a pair or more. So for a cage like that, I would do at least 3 or 4. I can't tell the exact size, but 3 or 4 would be good. Same thing with the morning gecko, at least 2 to 3. I would just increase the amount of animals he's got in it. But other than that, it looks like a really well built bioactive setup. I'm gonna have to give this guy probably an 8.5.
All right, I think I'd probably rate about the same. I'm liking basically everything about this. Yeah, like the background is looking a little dry, so like if you added some moss,
Yeah.
but looks like you got some corner misters in there. You're doing good. All wood, all your substrate looks proper. That's like a 3-layer, burger right there, nice and saucy. But yeah, I can't really say anything bad about this at all. If anything, add more. So I'd probably give this 8-3.
8.3. Okay, that looks like a pretty good review for that guy.
Yeah, I'm liking that one. It's the highest review so far. Tank 8.
Okay.
All right, guys.
scroll to it real quick. Hold on. Let me see.
Yeah.
You're hyping this up so much, bro. Oh,
So, fish tank 8, guys. I literally scrolled through this one because I want to keep this in somewhere.
what?
But if you see this on your screen right now, you know why I chose this.
Dude.
Because I can't say any. Okay, I didn't grab the description, but his mom's like a professional photographer. He's like, I swear I didn't grab this from online. So his mom's a photographer, so he got this tank. They've had it, I think they said, for like over 12 years.
Dang.
And yeah.
It's really well established. I will.
Yeah.
Just to very briefly start off with this enclosure, it is very well established, and the color.
I agree.
The colors on it are crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really say problem about this. You probably have a whatever sump under it. I think that's what he said. But I don't see, it doesn't even look overcrowded in the tank at all. Can't really say anything about that. Everything appears to be established. Crystal clear water, no algae. And this is definitely I'm going to say between 9 and 10. And the reasons why I can't just throw 10s out there is because a 10 is the best thing you've ever seen. So
that's like zoo.
If someone gets something, if you eventually someday see something better, then there's 2 things that are the best you've ever seen. 2 10s. Now, doesn't always work. So just if I were to give something like a 9 or a 10, it would have to be something like huge, like you have in your house, or something like a whole, I don't know. But I'm gonna have to give this one probably a 9.7.
9.7. I'm thinking a 9.5. 9.5.
Right, and anything in the 9s. It's just personal preference, what you would want to see in it. Pretty much by this point, it is.
I mean, that's insane though. Like, outstanding job to whoever had this done or built it. I know I can already tell just off the colors that you put a lot of time, money, and effort into it. So,
100%.
Good stuff.
All right. Okay. Well, let's get back to the reptile, but I think I'm gonna give you a shout out, Nico. That great setup, bro. Number 5. Let's do number 5. There's no explanation to this one. I don't know what to say so far. First off, my guess, probably a 5 or 10 gallon tall tank. There are what appears to be like live sort of ferns. There is a clean water dish. You got a high-ish basking spot. You got dirt in it, probably for your plants to grow.
Good dirt,
clean the glass a little bit, probably. I don't know what's in here, so my guess is probably some sort of frog, leopard, gecko.
So I found a description on this setup. It says it's a Pac-Man frog enclosure. So it's a very brief description, but it's a Pac-Man frog tank that they did a little while ago. So for a Pac-Man frog, that looks like a wonderful setup. Pac-Man frogs are very basic frogs. They don't require a lot. And as long as you got a good layer of substrate, which they do, looks like they got moss and everything like that for higher humidity and a good water bowl. I mean, that's a good Pac-Man frog setup. There's not much more to say about it. Personally, I'm going to give a 7.2.
I was almost thinking the exact same thing. Proper water, you got enough substrate and everything. Looks like you're keeping it nice and humid. I'm gonna go 7.1, slightly lower, but I do agree. 7.1 means you have a good solid setup, proper for your animal, and I'd say that's about right.
All right,
so guys, here we got fish tank number 7, and is there sort of a description? This one is by, I haven't been shouting you out, guys, so I'm sorry, I kind of forgot, but Jersey Aquatics. Here's this 10-gallon tank, and has a YouTube channel, Jersey Aquatics. My guess is this, it looks like some sort of tiger barb, is what I'm getting a vibe from, not 100% sure.
Okay.
But it appears you have a nice cave, a big fake plant, and just looks like just some, I think there's an angelfish down there in the bottom right. Appears, my guess is this is a 10-gallon, is my guess.
Yeah, it's a 10.
Black simple substrate, and you got lights and a heater. So this is probably going to go under average, but needs a few touch-ups. I can see you have a filter there. Anything I would add sort of fertilizing, maybe some sand, and then a layer of some fertilizing substrate, and then switch out that plant for a couple live plants. Your fish seem to like a higher swim higher water column, so I don't know how much they're going to be hiding in the little cave that you have, but you could switch that out for maybe something taller, like some wood piece. But overall, I'm going to give this a 6.6.
6.6. I was thinking somewhere around that, maybe a little bit lower. I really do like naturalistic setups with the live plants and stuff, but I do understand not everybody can do that. So with what we've been presented here, I'm probably going to go with a 5.5, honestly.
All right.
So
Yeah,
I know it's
there's
a little
definitely
lower.
it's a proper enclosure, which is why I give it
Exactly.
a 6 in there. But I'd probably just basically switch up most of the stuff that's in it.
Yeah.
Okay, this one I think was one of yours. Is there a
Yeah.
description? I can almost see something in the hide, but
tomato frog setup.
Yeah, it appears that there's a frog in the cave.
Yep, so it's a tomato frog setup. I don't know what size enclosure. It looks like a 10-gallon.
Yeah.
It's definitely a tomato frog because on the picture I can see it real well. Now, tomato frogs are similar to Pac-Man frogs, a little bit more tedious than Pac-Man frogs, but this is kind of how when I first got tomato frogs, how I set mine up was legit a 10-gallon tank, a wooden hide, a good-sized water bowl, and some plants, and it did well for several years until I upgraded it. So I really like that setup for tomato frogs. They're very similar to Pac-Man frogs. So I'm going to give that, because it's a proper enclosure, I'm going to give that I'm going to give it a 6.6.
All right, I was thinking so far probably 6.6, 6.7. Looks like you have a decent water dish. They look fake, but not 100% as important on this tomato frog. But you do have a good hide for it. Looks like you got your eco or substrate, and looks like you're keeping it probably humid from the water spots you have on it. So there you go. And I think I already gave my review 6.6, 6.7. I don't want to, or maybe a 6.5. Just sort of in between there. A good average proper setup is what I'll give it.
I agree.
All right, let me go to tank 10. All right, so let's go with this first one. And I think let me see, can I give you a little shout out? NC Necessities, first tank that you have appears to be 5.5 or 10-gallon long beta tank. Now, so far, I'm liking this enclosure. You have a good side filter on it. You have a good light. Definitely a proper size. Black sand. Plants do appear to be fake. Like that little the sort of rock wood piece in the middle. It looks cool. So anything I would switch out, I just switch the fake plants for live plants.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's gonna help it. I'd probably add a moss ball on there. Beta fish like moss balls in it. And sometimes they do like maybe create some sort of cave, because like even though they're just going to be swimming around, sometimes they want to have some little hiding spot. So maybe sort of create some sort of cave or something higher that it can almost like swim through for the middle. But overall, I would say this is, even though there's not live plants, I'm liking the setup. I'm going to give this probably a slightly over average. I'll give this a 7.1.
That's exactly what I was thinking, is a 7.1 as well. I do agree. I would change the live plants. Other than that, it looks like a really nice setup. I like kind of how it illuminates from out of the darkness. And if you have this in like your room or something, your game room, having something like this would look super dope, especially having a little beta fish swimming around. So definitely a 7.1 on this guy. Good work.
All right.
This one comes from Alex Rogala. Now, this guy has sent me some enclosures before, and he's a very well-known subscriber. It is a Crested Gecko setup. That's all that's on there. It's a Crested Gecko setup. I love, first of all, that like hexagon style enclosure. Looks super cool. That enclosure will stand out like above any other regular glass enclosure. The SpongeBob house is kind of throwing me off with everything else we got going on there.
Yeah.
But other than that, it looks like a pretty decent Crested Gecko setup. Sprayed down a little bit more. It looks a little dry, but it could be recently set up, so I may be getting too picky.
Right.
All in all, Crested Geckos are super basic animals. They don't require a whole lot. Maybe ditch the SpongeBob house, and with all of that, I'm giving it a 7.2.
All right. I think in my head I was going, probably 7.2 is good. I'll bump you up to a 7.3, but I'm liking the enclosure. Ditch the SpongeBob house unless you actually have a good use for that. Well, I don't know. Looks like you got enough moss and a little bit of eco earth in there. Tall. You have it going side to side so he can climb, and he can reach the top with the leaves. And you got your little feeding dish on the side. So yeah, unless you had just cleaned it or something, it does look a little dry. But I'll just say you had just cleaned it. Yeah, I'll probably bump you up to a 7.3. Probably good. So, if you wanted to bump it up, live plant, switch it out for.
Yep.
Or something like that. But that would probably have bumped you up to about a 7.5. But overall, I like it.
Awesome, good stuff. Thank you, sir.
So this one, the description is actually this one was the same guy who did the dart frog and morning gecko setup. So this is a soft shell turtle pond with mollies and guppies.
Gotcha.
So second photo, as you guys see, he has his little soft shell turtle. Is that a different kind of soft shell turtle, or is that because it has a unique design, or do they have that when they're younger?
Not. I mean, they don't really often have that when they're younger. That might be like some sort of spotted soft shell. I'm not too sure though on the exact species.
So for all the setup, I mean, my turtles are good escape artists. So even though it is just a soft shell, I might add one more brick higher just to be safe. But it looks like your soft shell probably isn't gonna burrow its way out with the type of rock that you have. So I'll say it's all properly enclosed. You got a fair amount of live plants on the side. So if he does pop out, not many critters are gonna be able to catch him unless they swim in a pond for him. Let's go with a filter. Appears to be sort of a DIY filter. You have the green tube, and the bottom of the green tube is the pump. Going into the filter as a little spray system, my guess is that you have it looks like a decent sized little DIY canister filter, so I'm going to say that. I'll say the filter's pretty good. Your lily pads are thriving, I'll say that. You got some blooming, you got them all going around. There's only like one dying, but that's like average. Now, one thing I did notice, I do like this pond. I think it's probably a good size for that sort of soft shell turtle. What do you think on the water level for a soft shell? Do soft shells, are they fine with that, or?
It's hard to tell how deep it is, but
I guess it's foot and a half.
That's what I was thinking too. That's perfectly fine for soft shells. My biggest concern having a soft shell is make sure that he's got sand on the bottom. Soft shells spend so much of their time burrowed in sand, as much as of their time as possible. Now, if he's got gravel or something like that, as long as it's fine enough, then it's okay. But I would definitely do some sand. And the other thing is, it kind of depends on the location of that pond setup, but it does seem very vulnerable to like outside critters, whether that's like heron or like possums or raccoons. And soft shells have a very soft shell, hence their name. So easy to fall prey to things like that. So unless you've got a really good location for it, I'd maybe get a net over it or something like that. But it's hard to tell, obviously, based off your location. I do like you've got just thriving around it. I'd also potentially raise the bricks up because they are a little low. Now, soft shell turtles don't get out of the water hardly ever, but to be on the safe side, I personally would.
We can do, let's see. Yeah, again, raise the bricks a little. Again, the first thing I ever noticed was about the substrate. So it looks like there's some sort of green, almost like grass at the bottom, but I also see a lot of big rocks at the bottom.
Okay.
So I would take out some of those medium-sized boulders you have at the bottom, and if there's not sand or like a very fine rock, I'd switch that out. But that honestly probably isn't a ton of work. But yeah, I'd probably raise the net, maybe raise the bricks up a little bit. Your filter looks decent. You probably have as long as you have a decent-sized pump down there. Just some mollies and a soft shell. Yeah, just switch out maybe the substrate if it's not a finer substrate.
So honestly, I can tell first of all based off his other setups as well. He's very interested in the proper, keeping of the animals that he has and keeping them properly housed. Just a few little nicks that he might want to change up here and there. Personally, I'm gonna rate this especially because it's an outdoor setup. It looks like in a pond and everything like that. Probably an 8 or an 8.2.
Yeah. Um, so for me, I'm a more pond fanatic. So for a quote unquote DIY setup, because how I see a pond is a pond underlayment, a pond liner, you
Yep.
fill that, and then you have a waterfall and a skimmer, which obviously this doesn't really have, so I'm gonna have to push this one to the edge of a DIY pond setup.
Sure.
So for a DIY pond, I do like everything. Like pond aesthetics itself, I'll probably give it a just to boost you. I like all the live plants as live plants are thriving. So I'll
And keep
give
in
you a
mind he's got other good
yeah
setups too. So
right. I'll give you a 7.5 on the DIY pond scale because it
I
appears to be thriving.
I agree. It's a really good setup, honestly. But there's things you could change.
All right, guys. So that's actually gonna wrap it up for today's video. It's probably gonna be at least 25 to 30 minutes, if not longer. So I hope you all go ahead and subscribe down below, turn on those post notifications, and of course subscribe to Pyro Toad right here. He's gonna be doing
Where?
what?
Pyro? Who's Pyro, bro?
Who's
Where?
that? Where did he even? He was supposed to come. He didn't even show up.
Yeah, I guess not, dude. He just sent his secretary.
Yeah, he has a twin out here. I don't know what's going on.
No.
But you can go subscribe to him down below. And if you didn't see your tank or a reptile setup here, you'll definitely see it in that video. And if you want to see a part 2, maybe we get like Chris on here or something. I don't know.
Dude, yeah, I think that'd be good. Chris loves creating and building things. I think that'd be pretty cool. Maybe we can try something like that.
So should we do a part 2? And if we have a guest, who do you guys think we should have? So that's going to be for today's video. I hope you all enjoy it. Positive comment shout out popping up right here in the corner. If you guys want a little shout out, I just give a shout out at the end of these videos. So just put a positive comment down below. And I hope you all have a great day. Peace, love, positivity, find your vision, and follow it. Be a visionary today and subscribe. And I will see you beautiful people next video. Peace.
That was a little early.
See ya.
Yeah.